to graduated guys' spots, Harry on the left and Caleb on the right. I know you were high on him in preseason, but just as you kind of start to wind toward a game week here, what do you think of those guys?
Harry's been very consistent. Harry's played a lot of football for us. He was a guy that didn't redshirt. He's played a lot his freshman year. Last year didn't play as much as probably he would have liked or whatever, but we were able to stay healthy last year. But Harry's a steady guy, man. He graded out. I don't know if he was the highest grade from our second preseason game, but he's been very consistent. Caleb Jones, he's got some activity for us in the last season. He's still work in progress as far as getting better, but he's really the off season's been big for Caleb. He really I think from his first year here to his second year last year, I think he really kind of upped his training level and all that stuff in the off season, and it's paying off for him right now.
Depth, is something you guys have been trying to develop. How is that coming along? Do you feel like during fall camp?
Well, the great thing is, I feel like we've got we've got a solid 5 guys, and we've got now after camp, obviously from spring ball to now, there was a lot to be proven, and I feel a lot better right now at where we are right now. Obviously, not the end of camp yet, but we've got some good competition going. To figure out who. Kind of got an idea who that 6th and 7th guy is going to be, but we feel like we've got some good competition for that 8th, 9th spot. I don't know if we'll roll 10 guys in there this year or not. This depends as guys keep growing and getting better, but I do feel a lot more comfortable today than I did leading into camp. Obviously we knew the summer was going to be big.
Now that Caleb has the strength and conditioning piece now, what do you think is kind of the next step for him?
Just the mental component of everything that's happening, and then consistency. He does a great job knowing what to do and all that stuff. But then he's a big guy, and he starts getting tired a little bit, and he'll have a lapse here or a lapse there, and it's just consistent. And it's not that he doesn't know what to do. It's just I think he sometimes that just the play in, play out consistency because he hasn't been a guy that's played over and over and over and over. And, on the offensive line, I know defensively, people like to rotate and all that stuff, but in the offensive line, again, I'd love to rotate guys, but to me, we're 45.45% of the offense every snap, and those 5 guys, the consistency of having those 5 guys working together and from a call standpoint and knowing what's going on and all those things, it's big.
How have you liked how they've all been working together then in camp here?
Really good. And what's been fun is we've been, just playing with some different combinations. We for the most part, we've had our 1s out there together and our 2s. And in that 2 group, there's been some rotation, not rotation, but some guys playing some different spots. But here lately, we've been plugging in, moving some guys in and out of even the first unit just to kind of get some different combinations going. And, a lot of times when 2 guys are, maybe combo blocking on a certain play or whatever, and then all of a sudden now there's a new guy in there. Sometimes that doesn't fit together, but it's been really good, from that perspective.
Matthew Bedford looked like a guy you might go beyond the 4 games you can do for a freshman and keep eligibility.
Yeah, he's been a pleasant surprise. Going into spring practice, he was an early enrollee, and I'd say after the first 5 practices of spring ball, I was like, whoa. He's got a long ways to go from a mental standpoint, and then I'd say that second, third, the second 5 practices of spring ball, all of a sudden the light bulb came on, and then really those last 5 of spring ball, and he's had a nice carryover. Biggest thing for him is the mental component of it. Physically, he can do a lot of things, and he's going to be a good football player. But our defense is throwing a lot at us throughout fall camp. And it's not the base stuff for him. It's the adjustments to the different things that we get from our defense, and it's for him is just a consistency standpoint from a playbook standpoint.
Anything you really like about these guys?
I'll tell you, and I'm not going to go the same thing for a football team, but I think we got a group of guys that nothing really phases. They just go out and work, and whether it's hot outside today, and they just work and go to the weight room. I can say that in my 2 years here and other places I've been, the strength coach usually, when they're in the weight room, it may be a bad day for the offense, or the O-line didn't have a great performance in the weight room and all that stuff. And I'm never getting any bad reports from the weight room. We haven't had any issues throughout fall camp. It's been a clean camp. Guys are working. The strength guys say they're in the weight room working. They're coming to meetings. They're focused. They're on time. You know, I don't have any guys strolling in late, and I'm not. You know, I can't say the first 2 years. There's been days I've had to run guys, and you know, walking into a meeting 2 minutes late. But it's just been clean. They just work, and I think that's the kind of the mindset of the team. You know, and it's been fun. You know, I know we talk about it as a staff, but for the O-line, I actually brought up in a meeting one day, in a full staff meeting, it's been great. I have had zero issues in the group, and it's just, they just show up and they do the work.
So everybody stayed pretty healthy?
Yeah, for the most part. You know, we've got our typical bumps and bruises and all that, but I told, you know, you can ask those guys when you talk to them. I told them the night before we started our first practice, I said, you better remember how you feel right now, because you're not going to feel this good until we get done playing a bowl game. And so their bodies are beat up and all that stuff, but we're in the process of building them back, and they got to take care of their bodies and all those good things. But nothing major to knock on wood, but nothing major to be scared about.
This question may have been asked. I had to run out for a second.
Yeah.
But I saw Coy was playing a little bit at left guard, and you had Caleb at left tackle. Was it trying to develop that depth by having some of those top 5 guys be ready in case?
Yeah, again, it just would, we talked about, just creating some different combinations for down the road emergency situations and all that stuff. So, Coy throughout camp had, in some one-on-ones and things like that, I had put him in there and got him a couple reps. But I just said, for a couple days here, we're gonna go, throughout the whole practice and just see what he can do in there and make sure, he has a grasp of what he's doing, and did a really nice job today from bird's eye view out there on the field. We'll watch the film, and I'm sure there'll be some technique things that he's got to get corrected and all that stuff. Caleb, obviously moving from right to left, he was, a left tackle from the get-go, so that's not been a big component. We got to get some other guys swinging around and things like that as well. How's
the grasp of the playbook with everybody?
It's been good. It's as we started looking at Ball State, it's funny because there's some nuances to what we're doing, but there's a lot of similarities what we're doing. So as we're watching the game film of us play Ball State last year, and the play calls are up on the screen for our guys, I'm saying, okay, hey, now this is this, and it's just different terminology.
Right.
And so for the most part, and there's some things that we're doing now that we weren't doing and all that, but from a meat and potato standpoint, it's just different terminology. And the great thing was they had all spring, all summer, all the the PRPs, player run practices during the summertime. I think the transition has been smooth. For the young guys, it's probably been the hardest because they have never run any of the plays, so they're learning it all. But the guys that have been around here for our 2017, 2018 season, it's just a matter of transforming words.
Is there a transition for you though too?
There is, yeah. Sometimes
how's your been learning process?
Well, a good thing I got Danny Friend. Sometimes I'll look at Danny and he'll have to remind me. He just gives me some old terminology sometimes, but no, it's been good, and we just got to keep our head down and keep working. That's what they've been doing. We'll just keep doing it.
Any young guy surprises these 3 weeks?
I'll tell you, Mike Kadick, Matt post spring, we knew Bedford, we knew was a guy that was probably going to play. Mike Kadick, after spring ball, I thought, okay, he's probably going to have to be a guy that red shirts this first year and all that stuff. And he probably will. Well, we don't ever make that determination right now because we got the new rule. They can play in 4 games, but Mike Kadick's been a lot better during fall camp than he was in spring. In the spring, I kind of threw the football in his hand and had him playing center, and he's having to do a lot of things. And then I said, well, hold on a second. We put him at guard, and then he had the summertime to kind of settle in and be able to snap and all that stuff. So he's been a pleasant surprise. And then all of our young guys, Tim Weaver, that got here in June, wasn't an early enrollee. He's learning. He's going to be a good football player down the road, but he's having to learn kind of everything. Went to a small school in Pennsylvania, and then the other guys that are young, the young guys are just learning.
It's a procedural question, but is Michael kind of the backup if something happens to Hunter, or would that maybe be one where you could slide Harry over to center?
Yeah, right now, Chuck, I just call him Chuck. Charlie O'Connor is right now is running with the 2s. Kadick is running with the 3s at center. Harry Kreider obviously is a candidate to go in there. Simon is a candidate to go in there. So that's why we're doing some of the things that we're doing, is trying to plug and play. At the end of the day, we're gonna put the guys that we feel like are the 5 best guys out there, and we gotta find who those combinations are. You know, it doesn't always mean take your 6th guy and just put him at a position. You may have to slide a guy over and put that guy in another spot or whatever that is. And so we're always just kind of playing with those ideas.
All right, thanks,
Thanks,
Coach.